Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time zone you're in today. But basically, this is Tom Chesser with Business Innovators. I am actually here with Joseph Land again for the Ask Joseph Land Insiders Club show. And we are so excited today because talking to Joseph a little bit earlier, he has some powerful things he's got ready, and he's got a very, 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 very special guest today. And I know you're going to hear from him as well. So Joseph, let's get the show on the road, buddy. We're having a good day today.
Well, thank you, Tom. And it's great to be with everybody again. And those of you who are on live and those of you who will be listening to the recording, welcome and great to have you here. I have a really special guest today, someone who really means a lot in my life. His name is 𝐋𝐀𝐍𝐃 Jessen. He's from Chicago area. And 𝐋𝐀𝐍𝐃 has founded a financial company that does a lot of business. And he's a young lion, an amazing guy, one of the smartest guys in the financial sector you'll ever want to talk to, and such a great man and such a man of God. And I'm just so proud of him. And he and I have had a very, very close relationship for all these years. And I work with 𝐋𝐀𝐍𝐃 every Thursday. He and I talk every Thursday. And I'll tell you, I get more from the call Thursdays than he does from me, I'm sure. But 𝐋𝐀𝐍𝐃, welcome to our Joseph Land show today. And I want you to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you got going on.
Well, thanks, Joe. I appreciate the introduction. Can you hear me okay?
Perfectly.
Well, you have a lot of kind words to say about me, man. And I think I'm human. I'm just trying to get better one day at a time and keep my eyes on my blind spots and keep my faith strong and keep my business moving forward. In terms of my company, I've been running, I founded a company called National Corporate Credit. I've been in the finance space for the last 12 years. And I mean, I'm 30, I'm going to be 32 next week. But I've been running my own businesses since I was 18. And that might sound like I started early, but I started back in the Great Recession. So I graduated high school in 2008. And similar to today, gas prices are around the same today as they were back then. The markets were changing. The world was kind of in turmoil. And I think, you have two types of people. You have those that kind of go with the flow and go with the changes of the world, and those that kind of stay stuck and get caught up in the changes of the world. And that was a big transition for me back then, because it helped open the door at a time when, let's put it this way, if the markets were okay, it would have been a crowded room. But because the world changed so drastically, it drained all the water out of the pool. And so anybody that was willing to come in and provide a service and be ethical and honest and deliver on what they could promise, you could walk right in that room and play the game. And I think that was a big thing for me, because I was able to get clients and build a pretty successful business out of it. So just to give you some context into what specifically I do, I help people launch and scale their companies and primarily raise capital for their companies. Over the last 12 years, we've had over 6,000 clients. We've raised over $1 billion in capital. And that's really by focusing on small businesses. That's such a large market that most big players don't want to touch. People that have startup companies, people that are scaling a business from 10,000 a month to 100,000 a month. And anybody that's been in business for a long time or has been in business for some period of time knows that, you need money to run it effectively. You don't always need money to start it, because you can use your own creativity and your own energy. I tell a lot of people that come to me that have a new business that want to raise capital, and I say sometimes they're not ready for it. And the best way to raise capital is through sales. You don't want to build a business and owe somebody money right off the gate before you've really proven the concept works. So go out there and sell, generate some revenue that way, and then find ways to creatively reinvest in that business. And once you have your company growing, or you've kind of reached that steady, we're doing 15K a month, 20K a month, 100K a month, 200K a month, whatever level you're at, that's when you can take on some capital and put it to use and really scale up. So, I've been doing this for 12 years, and I still feel like I'm learning something new. And I feel like every couple of years you go through this period where you want to reinvent yourself, to stay competitive, and to just push yourself as an individual. I think maybe because I am still young, and I have done what other people might see as a lot at a young age, I don't feel that way. And sometimes I can get down on myself and feel like, well, am I stagnant? What could I be doing differently? And you've helped me a lot with that, especially over the last couple of years. You've helped me find a much more important base in my life that I wasn't looking at before. I grew up in a household that wasn't very religious, so that really wasn't taught to me, but I've always felt spiritually connected. I was just a bit misguided, and you helped kind of realign me to seeing things from a different perspective, that my worth is not based on my results. My worth is based on the love that was given to me by my creator, that is still plentiful. And that's changed a lot for me. I used to go through kind of these depressive periods, and I used to drink a little too much, and I've been sober for going on 3 years now, which has helped tremendously. But that coupled with some maturity, nearing 30 and kind of getting over that year 30 and 31. And then just my coaching with you has helped me tremendously. And it's taught me that this is a lot more than just about business. Kind of my work with you has, I don't want to say forced me to look at myself differently, but through our work and through that maturity, I've come to just start taking my own inventory and realizing that, my self-worth is really intrinsic. And how do I start to really make a difference? And that's changed, in my personal life, my relationships. I'm getting married in a couple of weeks here, and so a lot has changed. But a lot has changed in my business from that redirection of my faith and that constant walking of the straight and narrow path. So I want to thank you for that. What questions do you have specifically for me that I can answer?
Well, I want to thank you for being on today. I told 𝐿𝐼 when we first started talking about some of the things he's revealed here, that God has such a huge plan for him, bigger than what he can imagine. And what was going on was he was being aligned to be able to handle that blessing, that abundance. And 𝐿𝐼 has an abundant mindset. So many people in society today have a scarcity mindset, and our God is so a God of abundance, and wanting to bless us. And so 𝐿𝐼, 2000, you mentioned 2008, and it's amazing. You're mentioning the price of gasoline and all that. And today, as of today, this Monday, March the 7th, kind of mirrors those prices in 2008, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
It's incredible to see. So what I'm telling people right now is the same God that blessed me in those times is blessing me now. And he will bless his people, and he will also position us and give us the nudge that we need to do to be in the right position to receive the blessing. And I think when there are times that are difficult, a lot of people prosper during those times. And I believe that there's going to be a lot of prosperity in the times that we're starting to watch and experience. So I want you to talk a little bit about what you're doing with your company, how you're positioning yourself. And by the way, Jennifer and I are so excited coming out to Arizona to your wedding in a couple of weeks. We can't wait to be there and celebrate with you. And we're just so proud of you. And again, I want you to bless the people that are listening to this call and who will be listening to this recording. I want you to give them what God is showing you and the direction you're taking in these times.
Yeah. Thank you for that. As I'm sitting here, I see Tony Fightmasters on here. And if I'm correct, Tony's from Illinois, right?
That's right, Mikkel. And I met you over lunch with Joe several years ago.
Yep. That was about 7 or 8 years ago. I remember that. Well, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you, my friend.
Well, I was writing some notes down over the weekend. I was on a mastermind with some really powerful people in San Diego, and I couldn't fly in for that Saturday meeting, but I zoomed in. And you know, I sometimes I'll get around people that are very intelligent, and that will cause me to feel like I'm behind the curve a little bit, or make me feel like, you know, there's things out there that I don't know, and sometimes that can make me feel insecure. Through my work with Joe and that constant like pursuit of just truth, living by my truth, I realized that I can rub shoulders in rooms with powerful people, but not be uncomfortable with that, because I'm different and I can still bring a level of value and truth just from a different perspective. And I feel like God's word has started to flow through me, and taking away some of those feelings of doubt or inadequacy, or what is other people are going to think of me. And, you know, surprisingly, I've done over $1 million a year for, this is going to be our 10th year in business, doing over 7 figures. And I was still feeling insecure with myself. So I don't think it was a success factor. I think it was hey man, I think, you know, you just have some insecurities you need to address, and through taking your own inventory, you can get better. But over the weekend, I came down to this thought was, what makes up a high value entrepreneur? What is it about somebody that not only can build a business, because I think you see so many people nowadays that are having tremendous success, and it's like out of the blue. I see these internet marketers making, and I don't mean like $1 million a year, they're making $1 million a month. And I'm like, man, how are they doing this? And I've got a real good business. I got a great product. We supply a need that is always in the marketplace, whether it's a good or bad market. But how do I achieve those levels of success? And I realized that regardless of if you build a company, it's being able to stay in business a long time. It's being a good steward of the resources, the people, and yourself through those years where, you know, you have a lot of success early, and then it kind of tapers off, and you realize, okay, you know, we've had a good run, but how do we reinvent ourselves, and how do we stay in the game long enough? And so I had 5 here that I had wrote down, 7, but I knocked it down to 5. What really makes up a high value entrepreneur? Number 1, you got to be a good leader. You got to be trustworthy. You got to have a good set of morals and values where people can trust you, because relationships are built on trust. And you know, no matter what business you're in, we're in the people business. You know, I hear this all the time. Are you B2C or are you B2B? Are you business to consumer or are you business to business? And I'm like, regardless of what either of those 2 categories, you're people to people. And even if you're a business selling a product to a business like myself, I'm still supplying a solution to an individual who has a problem. And so in order to enhance and develop and maintain and nurture those relationships, whether it's with your customers or whether it's with your own team members, which I think it's even more important, you got to be trustworthy. They got to know that you're going to do the right thing when things change. You know, it's easy to share when everything's plentiful, but when, you know, you kind of hit a bump in the road, it's how you respond in moments like those tell you, okay, can I roll with this guy? Is he going to be in the trenches with me? If we got to go to war together, can I rely on this person to have my back? That's the level of leadership that, man, I've over the years is not so common. I've got a couple people in my circle that, you know, I can really rely on. And I've had people in my business for years that weren't necessarily that case, but they were a reflection of me. And when I was personally and emotionally struggling and kind of checked out, that reflected on the people that were in my circle. And as that changed, a lot of the good people started to become more attracted to me. Better people started showing up. So number 1, I think you got to be a good leader, and that starts internally. Number 2, you got to be a good marketer. And last year, I made it a commitment to myself. I said, you know what, I'm going to become a better marketer this year. And so I spent, you know, 6 to 8 months on the 8 hours of the day that I wasn't working and I wasn't sleeping, just had my head in books and courses and programs studying, like, what does it mean to really be a good marketer? And to be honest, what I found is that it's just you being comfortable enough to talk to people you don't know. And that could be in person, that can be online. And if you're comfortable enough to just start up a conversation and not make it about you to where you personalize it, but you learn how to ask a series of questions to get to an outcome, you can become a better marketer because you can talk to people you don't know. And you do that one-on-one long enough until you get comfortable to do it 1-on-10. And then you do it 1-on-100. Tomorrow I'm doing a workshop for business brokers, business loan brokers, business consultants, people that are looking to make more money by providing funding to their clients or to their audiences. And that's a very lucrative side of our business outside of just funding. It's teaching people who are our partners how to become better business owners, how to become better marketers, how to pitch, present, and persuade more effectively. And the first webinar we had about 245 people sign up, and that was just like a couple of our consultants started inviting people, and it blew up. We had over 100 people on there, which was great. And once again, it comes down with your comfortability with self. If you're okay talking to people you don't know, and you just start with one, you get comfortable doing that. That's kind of the gateway to becoming a better marketer. And I'm sure there's people on here that know more than I do about that, but I'm just taking it in stride. Number 3, you got to be a good producer. It's one thing to be able to talk to people, but can you see the big picture, and can you convert those activities, those connections through a process that leads to a transaction? Because essentially we're in business to produce results. We're in business to produce a transaction. And so are you good at all of these? Probably not. Some are, but to see each of these pillars and to actively keep them at the top of mind each day as you're getting better, that's important. But if you can't close, you need somebody on your team that can. So a good producer would be the third. Number 4 is a good operator. And this is somebody who can look at all the moving parts of a business and manage them well. I can say that I'm a pretty good operator when I have a business partner. I'm not a good operator when it's just me. And I think it's because I have an accountability partner where I would be embarrassed if I made some of the decisions I would make on my own. I'd be too embarrassed to do that if other people knew about it. I manage my money better when I have a business partner. And I think I'm learning. My fiance, who's going to be my wife, she's very different than me when it comes to money. But I think that's a good thing. I'm going to make it, and she's going to make sure we don't spend it and we invest it in the right places. That's number 4, being a good operator. And essentially that's you just managing your business in a way where you don't make the decisions that typically lead to sabotage. If you can manage capital and you can manage cash flow, you're a valuable individual, because you can manage the moving parts of people, of revenue, and you can help make better decisions for your company and for your team long term. And then the last one is being a good connector. I think this was actually one of my weakest points. I was always good at presenting. I was very skilled one-on-one at connecting with people and finding what their struggle was and helping provide a solution and making them feel comfortable enough to work with me. But I wasn't good at long-term relationships. And I think this was an emotional and a personal problem that I kind of brought to the table unknowingly. It was more unconscious for me. That 5th one is being a good connector. And that's building relationships with people and building a network large enough to where, if Joe, you need something specifically for your business that I can't provide, I'm going to connect you with somebody who maybe is a good copywriter or somebody who can help you with videos. And, no man is an island. I find it funny when I hear these people that talk about self-made and that they did it all themselves. And I see how they're coming from their insecure ego. And I only know this because I used to come from the same place for many years. Being able to bridge the gap, like this is a team game, even more so now when we've transitioned from 100% of business being done offline to 80% of it being done online. People that were successful offline are now in a need for a lot of services that they have absolutely no clue how to implement, like putting on this webinar or doing a Zoom or creating like a broadcast studio with this technology called OBS that I use. I mean, it's like I'm skilled in a few areas, but man, I'm neutralized when it comes to most of these other ones. So 5 areas. You're a good leader. That's internally. I'm not sure that can be taught. I'm still thinking about that. I think you got to have some base of, you learn from a role model who at least showed you how to be ethical and how to play the game the right way. My mother ran a dance studio business for 30 some years, and she had her own demons. She was an alcoholic, and that really affected our family and the dynamic. And I think that's where some of my inconsistencies come from. But she was always a good businesswoman. And she always taught me how to respond instead of react, and how to always do the right thing in business, and how to live by the golden rule. And so just from an ethical and a moral standpoint, she taught me that if you do the right thing, you'll be around for the next 25 years. If you're greedy, you might win, but you're not going to play the game long term. That made a big difference for me. And that's helped me tremendously in my business. So being a good leader is one. Being a good marketer can be taught, and it's usually just done by doing it. If you're scared, welcome to the club, but you got to play the game one day at a time. Being a good producer, that comes with confidence, and having faith and trust that if you just go through the process long enough and you pick up the phone and you talk to people, you're going to get better at it over time. Being a good operator, and being a good connector. Those are the 5 things that make up a high value entrepreneur. And I can't say that I'm that great at all of them, but I'm practicing all of them. And I think that that's all you can ask of yourself is, let me be aware of it. Let me not be in denial of it. Usually our defects are really just a cause of us not wanting to face certain areas that cause us pain. And so if we're willing to face those areas, we can start to get better at it one day at a time. That's the main takeaway that my ideas were flowing from over the weekend. And that's kind of the messaging that we teach some of the broker clients that we have, and with our training program. So Joe, I hope you found that helpful.
That's amazing. And guys, you're hearing from one of the best today. And I've known this guy for a long time, and I've seen his growth. And I'm just like a proud papa sitting here listening to him talk. I just, feel like I could just jump through the phone and hug him. Mikhail, I just love you so much. And
I appreciate that.
When you talk about leadership, when you talk about being a good leader, here's what I encourage you to do. If you want to be a great leader, find a great leader that you can emulate, and pick out those qualities that person has, and work on yourself in being that way. I am just so proud of you and what you're doing with your company. If you look at where Mikhail is today, and so many entrepreneurs and so many businessmen and women miss this because they get complacent. They get complacent doing what they're doing, thinking it's going to stay the same forever and always, and it doesn't. Here's an example. In the transportation world, nobody had satellite tracking on their tractors and trailers. When it came out and was available, I got satellite tracking on my equipment so I could tell my customer where that truck was 24/7. And you know what? It forced my competition to come up and level up their game to where I was, because I was taking over more market share. And so what Mikhail is describing to you is his business heretofore was done, mainly with people in the office and satellite offices and so forth. And did you hear what he said? His business is moving more and more online. And so I think that's where we are in our society. Jennifer and I had probably our best financial year in a number of years last year, when everything was shut down, because we had totally adopted a philosophy of having a business online and doing business worldwide online. And so that's what I encourage people to do, is to let the Spirit lead you to where you're supposed to be in your business. And I'll never forget one of the conversations that I had with you, Mikhail, outside your office, that I think just changed the course of where we are in our relationship, and your company and my company, and all of that, because it was almost like God knitting our hearts together like Jonathan and David, and I'm going to tell you guys, I've been speaking this into him for over a year now. He hasn't even begun to see how he's going to be blessed financially and every other way. Family, you heard him say he's getting married and all these things. And I'm going to tell you, 𝐿𝐉𝐎𝐒 Jessen in the business world is somebody you want to be in the foxhole with. He's somebody that you want to be able to connect with because of what he just said, the connections that he has, the connections I have. We're constantly sharing, and you're right. Nobody builds a business by themselves. You know, it's all about the connections. It's all about, you know, God putting people together for a certain specific time and place. It is so encouraging to hear you talk, 𝐿𝐼. I'm so proud of you, and I just thank you for being who you are, being the man of God you are. I've seen tremendous growth in you, and your growth has caused me to grow. So I thank you for that. But anyway, I wanted to open this up just a moment. Again, you're hearing from the best of the best in this sector of the business world, finance. I mean, he was very humble and telling you the amount of financial deals he's done. But if you Google him, or if you look on social media, Facebook under 𝐿𝐼 Jessen, you'll see a lot of the things he's done. So let's open this up a little bit. Paul Joseph up in Canada. I know you're starting a new logistics business. You have a business. What is your takeaway from some of the things that 𝐿𝐼 has said?
It's pretty interesting, to say the least. Good to meet you, 𝐿𝐼. It's because it's the similar struggles that I'm going through right now, is to be able to adapt and grow into every 5 of those points that he's outlined, right? Like, yeah, good leader. Okay, you're a good leader, but you're only as good of a leader as to your own ideologies allow it to be, right? So if you are not growing into or trying to emulate somebody who's already been there like yourself, then we don't know what we don't know. So I could sit here and think, oh, I'm a great leader, but in essence, when we're trying to grow a team, I may not be that greatest of leader I thought I should be, or I ought to be, right? And in terms of marketing and being a producer, operator, and connector, these are nuances and struggles that I'm going through, right? So I've, as he had mentioned, being a marketer, like I get into a stage where I get into like needed learning, so to speak, where if I need to learn about a topic, I'll buy like 10, 20 books on that topic, and I'll just dive right into it. And for the next 2-3 months, that's all I'm focusing, because that's what I'm trying to better myself in, right? So when we launched 24-Hour Virtual, I knew nothing about internet marketing. I knew nothing about cold calling, cold emailing, none of that. So to grow that business into what we are today, even though small and we know the potential is massive, is I needed to step into these roles and learn these processes. And what he's saying perfectly aligns with each and every one of us that have been there in terms of trying to grow a business or trying to grow ourselves. And I completely agree with pretty much everything he's mentioned.
Good, thank you, Paul. And Paul is building a brand new business. I've been talking to him about it in the transportation sector, actually. And he has a business already. And so it's been, when Paul sent me his logo, I said, man, I love that logo. And, it's like a feel you have for things. Paul, you're going to be very successful in the logistics business, and you just need to go for your vision and your dream. Go ahead, 𝐿𝐼.
Yeah, I was going to say a few things to Paul. My vision for what a leader is has changed a lot over the years. Number one, it's how you make decisions when the decisions don't always benefit you. I'll give you a good example. And sometimes there's miscommunications with our deals. And it's probably 1 out of 30 where a customer or a client wasn't explained the process the right way. And we go ahead and we raise money for them, and they owe us an invoice for the services that we rendered, but somewhere along the lines the process wasn't explained right, and that's not in accordance with how we do business. Meaning we deliver on what we promise, but if what we promise was misexplained, then I have to own that. And it's sometimes like, you got to do the right thing, even if it's not always going to benefit you. So if I got to waive a fee or compromise or give extra concessions, it's kind of making those situations that hurt, make it right, even if it doesn't always benefit you. Second thing is, if you're learning a new trade or you're learning a new business, you're leading from the front. And so I'm a feeler type of guy. If I don't have my finger on the pulse, I don't know what's going on. And I can't guide and lead unless I have my finger on the pulse. But showing my team firsthand how to prospect, or how to talk to the clients, or how to go through those new periods of, I don't necessarily know how to do this, but we're going to figure it out as we go. You being willing to do that, that's the greatest leadership example that I could probably give you. And the fact that you're aware of the things that you're not good at says a lot more about you than somebody who says, I'm the best at this, I'm the best at this. And unfortunately, convincing yourself you're great at something before you're really that good, it might help you convince yourself to take action, but it doesn't give you the results. So I think humility and truth go a lot farther than egotism and kind of putting it on for show. So it's cool, man. It's if you're connected with Joe, you can always reach out to him to ask me questions if you have any.
No, most definitely. I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Terry, you have any questions?
Yeah, like we also have a business, my partner and I, and what 𝐿𝐿𝐼 has been saying, with a partner, you're way more successful than by yourself. And that's so true. We have a tea business that we have, and it's very unique. It's about how you can help people with ailments. Like, we have a tea. I'm not doing the sales pitch. I'm just trying to explain a little bit. We have a tea that we just made that's good for arthritis and gout. So that's our line of teas. And a lot of the teas that are businesses that are out there are loose tea. And we actually bag our own. And we've had some good success. We're kind of at a stalemate right now, a little bit. But again, with the creator on your side, it doesn't matter. He's setting you up to be more successful. And he knows that at this time, you have to learn. And that's what we're doing. We've grown so much on our marketing. We're pushing for that. We're growing, and by these 5 points, that's helped me out a lot. My strengths, I have strengths, and my partner has strengths, and by combining them, you're way more successful. And by making decisions on your own, may not agree with your partner so much, like you said. It's amazing having somebody that you have with you that you can grow with, and it makes that business so much more important. So that's kind of what I wanted to say.
That's exactly right, Terry. And I'm glad to have you on today. And I'm glad you were able to listen to 𝐿𝐿𝐼, deliver those points. 𝐿𝐿𝐼, you have anything to say to that?
Yeah, I agree with you, Terry. It's good to have that type of partner, but I'll tell you that my partner and I, we were probably at odds with each other because of my own ignorance for many, many years. Through being honest, through my sobriety, a lot has changed for me. I don't carry around resentments or this egotism I used to have before. And a partnership can be great. If you have a partner and you guys gel really well from the beginning, that's very rare. Most relationships have to be built because you both bring a level of conditioning that comes from your upbringing, and it clashes in the most important time. So wherever you find yourself triggered or uncomfortable, those are the areas that you need to address. And being willing to talk about it, not being afraid of conflict has helped me tremendously. But I agree in terms of having that partner to help you look at areas that you might not look at on your own. If you're having success with the tea business, that's awesome. I know I'm just thinking about being a good marketer. It goes a lot more than just being willing to talk to people. It's knowing who's your market, what is their problem, where do they hang out, what's the right message to deliver to them, and then being in front of them or directly or indirectly as much as you can. So there's a lot of strategy that goes behind it. But yeah, man, it's having good people in your life, and also trusting God's time. And you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Because as an entrepreneur, I have two issues. I have shiny object syndrome, meaning I'm attracted to nice things and I want them fast. And then I have the I'm drawing a blank, but I want it now. I want what I want and I want it now. And that overrides all the time. And sometimes I have to accept that, you know what? I'm not great at doing video ads just yet. So a leader taught me this one thing. He said, you got to be willing to suck at something long enough in order to become good at it. And if you're willing to embrace the pain and the embarrassment that your ego is going to take, just being crappy at something long enough, you'll get good at it over time. That's helped me a lot. And those ailments have kind of gone away with putting God first in my life and just trusting the process and living one day at a time.
Yeah, and I agree. And
Cool.
You're right. I'm okay. We got to buy something. We're going to buy a lot of it because we'll need it later and we'll have it. And she's like, whoa, hang on. Just we'll get there, but just not tomorrow or not yesterday. So yeah.
Proportions.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
And Terry, one of the things that I discussed with Mikhail last Thursday, I laid out a few points, and one was being a solution provider. Mikhail talked about knowing your customer, being positioned right, knowing what your customer needs, and being a solution provider. People are looking for people who can make their life better. Businesses are looking for people who can make their life better. And then, we're all surrounded by people who like to complain, but I'm going to find a solution to whatever it is, so it will make me money. Right. Yeah. And so I'll tell you a story. When I first started my transportation company, people told me I would fail. And I would say to them, I'm not receiving that. And they said, well, nobody's going to support you in Florida. And I said, I'm not receiving that either. And they would say, well, how are you going to do it? And I said, well, I have a new way I'm going to do business. And so I revolutionized the business by going to the person who was buying the product as opposed to the person who was making it in Florida. And it revolutionized the whole business. And that's the way the business is done today. The Krogers and the Pillsbury's would call the manufacturer for me to pick up the load instead of the manufacturer trying to calling me to get the load. You see what I'm saying? And so things are shifting, and you need to recognize the shift in business. That's what makes your business great. So anyway, I wanted to throw that in there.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a question for Mikhail? Tony Fightmaster? You know him, Mikhail pretty well.
As I listen to Mikhail, I'm blown away, man. I'm blown away by the maturity and the depth that I sense in you. You encourage me, you inspire me. And, I listen to the five pieces of being a high value entrepreneur. And, over the years, over the decades, we listen to this kind of thing, and then we kind of, okay, let's check this out. Where do I stand with this? And I realized that over the decades, I've been pretty good in the area of number 1 and number 5. Building relationships with people, being somebody that someone could count on. Being someone of integrity, and also being able to connect with people and build relationships that last decades. So I've done well in number 1 and number 2, or number 5, I should say. But I see weaknesses in me in the middle, in 2, 3, and 4. And part of that has to do with the changing landscape. 5 years ago, I stepped into this area of fundraising for the university. The first 30 years I was here, I was recruiting students. I was building relationships with pastors and influencers in community colleges and in churches, and really involved in the relationship of serving those areas. But the last 5 years, I put on the hat of fundraiser. And so now I'm trying to raise millions of dollars. And again, the trust factor, is a key area there, but there are tools to help people be philanthropic and be able to accomplish their goal, and at the same time help them with their taxes and all that. And so I'm in the learning curve right now on that area. And then in my other entrepreneurial hat, my other area with gold and silver and all, that's a new area for me. I'm learning, and I'm learning to be competent when it comes to actually knowing what to say and when to say it. But it's obviously the last couple of weeks has been interesting, watching gold and silver go through the roof, and everything else. Well, pretty challenging time for a number of people right now. But at any rate, what I wanted to say was, you inspire me, encourage me, because, it doesn't matter whether you're 44, 24, or 64 like me, you can learn, and you can be humble, and you can be hungry. And I'm hungry, and I really want to improve in that number 4. That's been one of my areas of weakness, no matter what I was doing, is the operator part, that, running an operation budget. And as Terry was saying there, I'm ready to go big, but somebody needed to pull me back there a little bit. We got to follow the operation budget a little bit here, even though you got this vision down the road. So anyway, those are some of my comments. I love what you shared here, and it's helping me.
Thank you, Tony. Michael, you have anything to say back to Tony?
Yeah, Tony, I appreciate that. And yeah, I do remember. I remember going there to Gibson's there in Oak Brook, and it was snowing that day, and I remember it clearly. So I still have the picture of, I think you took of Joe and I in the lobby. But yeah, man, thanks for the encouragement and just the feedback in terms of the inspiration. Ideas will come to me when I'm listening to each person talk. And, what came to my mind with you is, you might think you're not a good marketer or a good producer, but all that recruiting you did, those skills you developed from doing that, you just need to reframe the way you look at them and apply them to what you're doing now or to another business. And they're probably equally just as advantageous if you just have the right system. I teach a closing system to our brokers that gives them a framework of step 1 through 5, what to follow and what sequence to get a very predictable outcome every single time with the right people. From a marketing perspective, I'm looking at, because like any business owner, right, we get all these ideas, and then by the time we get to implement one of them, we've got like 20 new that hit our minds, and then we're overwhelmed, and then we don't know what to start on. And it's like, it sometimes can become a shit show in our mind, for lack of a better word. What's helped me a lot is, number 1, you've got the internet, you've got all these free platforms. Work with the group of people that you're already connected to, and then decide, who is it that I'm speaking to? Who am I speaking to that would be that ideal client for me? Who's the one I want to work with? Too many times we get caught up working with anybody because we're so desperate just to get a customer that we take anybody on and realize, well, we just took on a therapy position that we didn't want to have to deal with. Decide who would be the best person that you want to work with, and start tailoring everything you talk about to that person. Like, look into this camera right here and just talk to that person. Naturally, the right people will start to gravitate and show up on the other end of that camera. And look, you don't have to have a landing page. You don't have to have a funnel if you don't want to. Just say, listen, if you want more information, email me here at this address, or click this link below, or comment in the section below. It's not that complicated. We just make it complicated, but I think you got those number 2s and number 3s probably already developed. You just need somebody to show you, hey, this is what I'm talking about right here, and you've already developed it.
Hey, thank you, 𝐿. Really appreciate it. I took notes on that, by the way.
That's great, Tony. Shane, I want you to say a few words. I know you're developing a new business.
Yeah.
What was your takeaway from some of the things that Mikhail offered?
Well, I made copious notes, and as you're talking to each individual, it's really filling out these different numbers for me as well to understand in more depth, what you're trying to bring forward with these different 5 points. And one of them, number 2, must be a good marketer. And it's funny because I've always been kind of nervous around the thought of being a marketer. How do you do that? What does that mean? It's just like, I'm a shy person. But it made me realize that over the past couple of years, when we've been so shut down, it was really a wonderful opportunity to, whenever you did get a chance to run into someone, or when I would on the street, or doing a transaction, going to FedEx, or just the little exchanges that you have became so paramount. I mean, and it made me really grateful and aware that there's so much opportunity to just connect with people even if you're just saying, hi, how are you? You talk about the weather, and they make a joke and you laugh. That kind of exchange is experience, really has been a good experience and a ground for being a good marketer. But I never would have thought of that until I heard you talk about it in this way. So I wanted to thank you for that. My business is a business I had 10 years ago, and I have a business called Try Wellness, and I'm a biofeedback specialist. And it was a good practice. And then I had a really serious car accident, and I had to let it all go. So now it's like trying to raise this business back up from the ashes. And it's like, listening to you talk and Joseph talk and everyone here, it's really an exciting time to be doing that, because so many things have changed, and so many things we have more access to communication and ways to communicate. And I don't know, I just feeling like my creative side is really coming alive. And then one other thing, when you talk about being a good producer, I thought, well, I don't know about that one either. But then when I heard you speaking with, I don't remember who it was now, but about, with Tony, recruiting people. And I realized, wow, I actually did that when I was alumni director for 6 years at a school, and I recruited volunteers in their reunioning classes to help organize their reunions, and I would train them. And I'd have to get on the phone, and didn't know any of them personally. And so that, I mean, this has just been a really real revelation. So I want to thank you. It's opening up my eyes to what I already know how to do, and just making, I love having 5 points. I love having this outline blueprint where I can really hone in on these various aspects. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Shane. Mikhail, you have anything to say back to Shane? I'll tell you a little bit about her. She's in Nantucket. She lives in Nantucket, and she joined my Insiders Club, and I did a 20-minute session with her as a part of being a part of the Insiders Club, and told her that she was going to see some customers that week. And lo and behold, she got 2 customers that week because she started talking about her business to people and framing it the right way.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Shana, is it Shane or Shana?
Shane.
Shane. That's how it starts, is just being able to talk to people. I've spent a lot of time and money developing, running ads, developing landing pages, automating my application sequences, trying to find a way to close deals without having to talk to people. And it has helped make things easier in terms of our automation, but the human element is where the touch is. That's where the energy is.
Yeah.
Without that energy, nothing happens. And Joseph and I are just laughing last Thursday because I'm like, man, I feel like I have gone around in circles trying to find ways to do this easier and better without me having to be involved. And I'm like, you know what? What's worked so well for me is my willingness to just do the work and to pick up the phone and to talk to that one person, or to spontaneously be aware of that I'm always marketing everywhere that I go and that opportunities are always around me. That's how I built my company. It was online and offline, and I was just willing to talk to everybody. And I wasn't afraid to do the work. So it starts with that. You know, I'm going to give you guys something a little bit extra here that I teach my brokers, but it's pretty universal. Since you like the 5 steps, I think this can help you, Shane. I teach people how to build a closing structure, because when you get on the phone with somebody, one of 2 things either happens. Number one, the professionals will go through a process that will help them qualify and filter and enroll people, or you spend 45 minutes letting somebody tell you their story and you get nowhere. The first step to building a closing structure is, number one, building rapport on the phone or in person. And you do that by asking questions personally. You see, when you can shift your mindset from how do I convince this person to work with me versus I know what I have is valuable, let me ask them some questions to determine if they're the right person that I want to work with. Your energy shifts tremendously, because then you move from like desperation to power. So that first step to building a closing structure, other than introducing yourself, is to build rapport. You ask personal questions. One great way to do this that I do over the phone, because most of my dealings are with people over the phone. And by the way, of the 6,000 people that I've worked with, probably like 2/3 of them were from cold calls. So I have an ability that's been developed over time to transfer a level of warmth and good energy over the phone to people where they feel comfortable with me. And it really starts with getting to know them on a personal level. What I call is the area code method. You simply look at your phone, and Shane, if you're let's just say your area code is 954, and I would say, Shane, where are you calling from today? And you're going to say, well, Nantucket. And I'd say, that's interesting. I've never been there before. Where is that specifically? And we'll just get to start talking about your background. And I'll do this for a couple of minutes because, number one, I'm genuinely curious and I want to get to know you. But what ends up happening for you is it takes all the pressure off, and you're like, okay, this guy's not trying to sell me. He actually cares enough to ask me about who I am. So I'll spend a few minutes there, maybe like 1 or 2 minutes. The next stage is to qualify your client. So number one is to build rapport. Number two is to qualify. And these questions are going to be specific to your business model. For me, we have financing services. And so I'm going to ask them questions about their business. Are you incorporated? What state? How long? What's your revenue? What's your credit? And then most importantly, what do you want? And I find that a lot of people haven't really taken the time to get clear on what it is that they want. And so maybe we'll spend a few moments there. After these 2 sections, the prospects are really warm with you for the most part. It's also your job to filter out the people you don't want to work with. So those that are going to be controlling, those that are going to be overbearing, those that are going to be called emotional vampires and emotional train wrecks. They create problems. It's like they're 5% of the people you're going to talk to, but they're going to cause you 95% of your problems. So just avoid them at all costs. And the best way to turn them away is say, hey, listen, Shane, if that would be the person's name, I don't know if this is going to be the best fit. So, good luck. The third step is going to be to paint the picture. Your ability to take their imagination from where they are to the end of your process and beyond will help position them to be very comfortable moving from step A to step B. So, for example, with me, my first goal on that initial call is to get them to fill out an application. And so what I do is I'll paint the process of what it's going to look like when they work with me. So you're going to fill out this application, and after that, you're going to submit it, and our team's going to look at it. And if it's qualified, we're going to present you with an offer. And if you like the offer and you decide to move forward, then our funding takes 7 to 10 days, at which point we do everything for you. And once you've completed the process, you're going to have the money that you need to start using in your business. And then I'd like for you to work with me over the next 3 to 6 months and stay in contact with me, so we make sure that you do everything right and you avoid all the mistakes. And after that 6-month period, we go in and get you a credit limit increase on your funding. So I'm taking their imagination from where they are here today to, I've gone through the funding process. I know what that is like. I've started to use the money in my business and get results. I've come back and gotten more money. And Mikhail's been my consultant for a year now. When I can explain how that works in a very calm, concise, and clear way, they feel comfortable filling out that initial application. So I like to call that step paint the picture. Give them and their imagination a really clear step-by-step process of what it's going to be like to work with you and how easy that's going to be for them. The next one is going to be basically how the enrollment process works and the value stack. So they don't really know what they're going to get until you break it down for them. You might have a lot of value. You might give them things that they're never going to get with their clients or their competitors. But if you don't describe that, they're never going to know. And for us, it's the same things we would always do. We give them 12 months of free consulting. They get free unlimited credit limit increases. They can come back 3 or 4 times in a single year. It's all the things I would normally already do for them, but I've taken each piece and I've pulled it apart and I've framed and packaged it differently. So that way they see the stack here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the things you're going to get with me that my competitors will never offer you. And all of these things are included for free. That's your value stack. And then the last step of the structure is your call to action. It's in my business, and in many cases, there's not really a money transfer. If I'm selling a product, then I would ask them, which credit card do you want to get? Which credit card do you want to use today? But for me specifically, the call to action is just telling them what to do in a calm and concise way. So that way, I'm walking with them to the finish line. I'm just expecting that they're going to move forward. That's basically it. You can do that and use that 5-step structure, which is build rapport, qualify your client, paint the picture, stack the value, and your call to action offer at the end. I've developed that through a lot of consulting and practice over the years, but it works well for us. It's universal and can work well whether you're selling a product over the phone, presenting, or you're just doing consulting and offering your services on the back end. Hopefully that was helpful.
That's very helpful. Thank you very, very much.
That's beautiful. And, Mikhail talked about 2 things I want to make sure you picked up on. One is that the first and the front end of the call, you're just relaxed building the relationship with the person. You don't have your fangs out trying to hook them and sell them something. You're just getting to know them. You're building that confidence with them. And then the other thing that he talked about is energy. Did you catch that?
I did.
People pick up on your energy. If you're calm and confident and cool and collected and assured of who you are and what you have, then people are going to be more likely to do business with you. So I wanted to make sure you guys picked up on that. And Mikhail is the expert on that. So anybody else have any questions? We're getting
Mikhail, what
close
event
to
did you go with on this weekend? Where were you at? What was the name of it?
We don't have a name for it. My
No,
copywriter
the
and
one
I,
that you were. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were at an event or something like that this weekend.
No, so
Oh.
my copywriter and I, we basically put a private mastermind together
Oh,
in San
okay.
Diego, and
Okay.
there's about 15 to 20 people a part of it that are all. San Diego is a hub of a lot of very intelligent marketing people. Like, and I go there and I'm intimidated, but they're doing millions and millions and millions of dollars a month in their agencies, running ads for companies. Like they're basically they're internet marketing geeks, smartest people in the world. They necessarily can't close themselves, but they know how to get you a customer, and they can use the copywriting to get those customers converted. So it's brilliant people, but yeah, it's not a public event that we have.
Oh, okay. Also, I have some clients that I've been working and making connections. It's leading, but you're also following, but in the bigger program, you're actually parallel making the connections to get people what they need to have the solutions that they want. And being that solutions provider is the key part of any business person, as long as you're reaching and growing together. So I've got some asset wealth managers that I've used in raising money and capital for my clients on a big scale, a huge scale. So I'd love to talk to you about the smaller scale on that, because I have other ones that it's needed on a smaller scale, right? That the ones that that not are interested, except in 300 million to 500 million to $1 billion, they're not interested in the smaller scale stuff, right? They're not really interested in the small business thing. So I'd like to hear more about that at a later date. So everything you said was just perfect, and spot on. And I can see Joseph has had an influence. I can see where you guys have really come together, because what I hear from him, I'm hearing from you, and what you're hearing from him, we're all hearing also from you. So thank you very much.
That's good. Thanks, Tom.
Mikhail, thank you for being with us today. We're right at the hour when our show, and I wanted to thank you personally for being here. And man, you moved the needle today for a lot of people, and I'm so proud of you and our relationship. And I thank you for all you're doing. And guys, if you know of people who are looking for capital or looking to get loans for their businesses, I will give you Mikhail's email for his company that you can contact him, and he'll put one of his people maybe with you to help you with anybody that you know that needs capital. And Mikhail, God bless you. You're an amazing man, and I'm very proud of our relationship, and I thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Joe. It's good to be here, everybody. Nice to meet you guys.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you.
Well, great. We will reconvene next Monday at noontime, Eastern Standard Time. And you never know what surprise I might have for you. So invite all your friends. Wouldn't you love to have had 10 of your friends listening to Mikhail Jessen today? So thanks for being with us. God
I
bless.
did want to say one thing. Has everybody noticed Tom Henderson's t-shirt? Attitude is a choice. I think
Yeah.
that's a good thing to take with us as we close our meeting. But thank you all for
Attitude.
joining. I enjoyed it.
And that was my beautiful wife, making sure she kept me straight. So Tom, great to see you today. Attitude is a choice. And, in these times, I just want to pray over you guys. God, Lord Jesus, we just thank you. And I ask you to bless the people on this call today, and give them the desire of their heart, and protect them in these times, and bless them and their families. And I ask it in your name. Amen.
Amen.
So
Amen.
thank you for joining us today, and put God first, and watch the abundance come to you. God bless you guys. Talk to you
Bless.
later.
Bless you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.